lesson, you're going to continue to solve proportions, but instead of solving algebraically, you're going to be using the cross product method. Now, we have talked about this in the past, but let's set up a definition to remind you what this looks like. If A over B equals C over D, where B does not equal 0, and D does not equal 0, then AD equals BC. Okay, take a look at what they did there. They have proportion, and then they multiplied across. That's why it's called cross product. A times D is on one side, and B times C is on the other. Let's try this. 4 over x equals 12 over 24. Okay, so yesterday we solved algebraically. Now we're going to solve by using cross product. Cross product is where you multiply across. So I'm going to multiply 12 and x, and I'm going to multiply 4 and 24. And then I'm going to solve it algebraically. So I have to figure out what 4 times 24 is, and that's 96. I want to get x by itself. They're multiplying, so I'm going to 12 goes into 96 8 times. Okay. And they are going to ask you to check your answer today. So to check it, you're going to plug it back into the original problem. 4 over 8 equals 12 over 24. There's a couple different ways you can check this. You can reduce them and see if you get the same answer. For example, this fraction can be reduced to 1/2, and so can the other, so you know that it's the same thing, that x equals 8 is correct. Or you can cross multiply to see if you get the same answers. For example, 4 times 24 is 96, and 12 times 8 is also 96. So if both sides of the equation are equal, you know that your answer is correct. Go ahead and try 8 over x equals 6 over 15. Solve for x and then also check your answer. We're going to try this problem together. 3 over x equals 9 over x minus 4. Okay, this is the reason why you need to know the cross product method. We're going to multiply across. This side is going to be 9 times x, and this side is going to be 3 times this quantity x minus 4. So it looks like on the right side of the equation we have the distributive property. 3 times x, 3 times a negative 4. Now I need to solve the equation by collecting the variables on one side. I'm going to collect all the variables on the left side. This is positive, so I'm going to subtract. This is a negative 12, so I'm going to bring down the negative. To get 6 by itself, I divide. Negative 12 divided by 6 is a negative 2. Okay, now we're going to check to see if that's correct. I'm going to plug negative 2 in for all of the x's. Looks like we have a little bit of solving to do on that right side. Negative 2 minus 4, I can turn it into plus the opposite, so it says negative 2 plus a negative 4. Or I can see that we have two negatives, same sign up. Here you have two options. You can reduce them out to see if this has the same fraction as this, or you can cross multiply. I'm going to cross multiply. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. 9 times a negative 6 is also a negative 18. Because both sides are equal, I know that this answer is correct. All right, your turn. Try m over 5 This should be planting soil. Oh my. Georgia is making her own planting soil. For every 4 buckets of peat moss, she mixes 3 buckets of perlite. Suppose she uses 10 buckets of peat moss. How many buckets of perlite should she use? Write and solve the proportion to find the answer. You're going to set this up the same way that you set up the problems yesterday. The ratios have to be in the same order on both sides of the proportion. So it looks like I'm going to go right in order to what they said. For every 4 buckets of peat moss, she mixes 3 buckets of perlite. So I'm going to put peat moss on the top, and I'm going to put perlite on the bottom. On the other side of the ratio, suppose she uses 10 buckets of peat moss. That's listed first. How many buckets of perlite should she use? That's what we're trying to learn. Maybe use B for buckets. I'm just going to use X. To solve this, I'm going to use cross product. I'm going to multiply across. So 3 times 10 is 30. And then I'm going to solve the equation. I want to get X by itself, so I'm going to divide. So 30 divided by 4, you can put that right into your calculator, is 7.5. You need 7.5 buckets of the perlite. Okay, now it's your turn. Again, you don't have to write this word problem in your notes. Maybe just jot down some of the information. Each day, the seals in an aquarium are each fed 8 pounds of food for every 100 pounds of their body weight. Suppose a seal weighs 260 pounds. How much food should the seal be fed per day? Go ahead and write a proportion and then solve the proportion to answer the question. The last section is scale drawings and scale models. These two have the same concept, but one is 2D and one is 3D. So the drawings are the 2D aspect, it's 2-dimensional, and then the models is the 3-dimensional. No matter if you're using scale drawings or scale models, you're going to be using the ratio model over original. That's what you're always thinking. The ratio on each side of the portion is always going to be model over original. Alright, so let's solve this problem. The ship model kit sold at a hobby store on the scale of 1 foot to 600 feet. A completed model of the Queen Elizabeth II is 1.6 feet long. Estimate the actual length of the Queen Elizabeth II. Okay, so here we're doing with the model ship. They give us the scale. That's one of the ratios. And notice they have it model of the original. The model, for every 1 foot in the model, it's 600 feet in real life. So I'm going to set up that ratio. 1 foot over 600 feet. Okay, we're going to set that to the actual model. A completed model of the Queen Elizabeth is 1.6 feet long. Model. And we're trying to find the original. Model over original. Once you have the proportions set up, you can solve it. So here I have 1.6 times 600. And on the other side I have 1 times x. So I have 1x. To solve this equation, I just do whatever it says on this side. So my calculator, I type 1.6 times 600 and I get 960 feet. The Queen Elizabeth II is about 960